Welcome to another social tutorial. This time we're going to be talking about WhisperSphere etiquette and some things to keep in mind when you're using WhisperSpheres or Whisper mode. I'll be referring to it as Whisper mode as we go on through this video. As with all social videos, do keep in mind the disclaimer that I'm not aiming to be mean or shout at anyone or yell at anyone. I'm just being truthful and honest, sometimes a little brash, but that's what we need to do sometimes to have these conversations and to improve as a community. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns, drop them in the comment section. I will answer them or meet you up in Neos and we can have a conversation about it. Do also remember that some of these things are subject to change as Neos grows and changes with new features and thingies that we add in subsequent updates. With that getting said, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and first of all give a quick reminder about what Whisper mode is. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my private UI and hop over into Smooth POV. Whisper mode is the option here on the left, which is next to mute. So here's mute, this is whisper. Whisper mode here will engage a sphere around you, which looks a little bit like these two over here. We'll talk more about these two in just a moment. But these indicate that someone is in whisper mode. When you're in whisper mode, only people that are inside that sphere that appears can hear you. And additionally, you can't really hear anything outside of a whisper sphere there. So it's a way for you to have a more quiet conversation with people to whisper to them. That's what whisper mode is, and that's how you can configure it. Now let's talk about some things to keep in mind when it comes to whisper mode and sessions that you might be in. We're going to split this into two parts. Two with my fingers there. The first part is going to be observing a group of users in whisper mode inside your world. Some things that you can think about that. So let's go ahead and smooth PV so you can see these two people. So these two people are engaged in a whisper mode conversation within my world. They're not actually people, they're just avatars, but it's a good example. This means that these two people are having a conversation which they wish to be a little bit quieter and they don't wish anyone else to hear. Do not, as a user observing them, do not enter the whisper sphere and bug them. They're in that sphere to have a private conversation. Don't interrupt them. Don't go in there. Don't gawk outside like some sort of like passerby at the zoo looking at a monkey in a cage. Just let them have their conversation. Let them have peace and quiet. If they beckon to you to come in, gives you a thumbs up or some sort of wave, glance, etc., that allows you to know that you can come in, then please enter and, enjoy the conversation. You've been invited into it. Otherwise, stay out of there and stay out of there until it completes. There's nothing that you can do. You might be able to message them either on Discord or using the in-game messaging features, but it's not your conversation to listen to, so please don't do so. That's really all there is to, observing people in your world that are using whisper mode. Just, give them the space that they need to have that conversation. It may be a very anxiety-inducing conversation for them, so they don't want anyone in there. Maybe they just want to, a quieter experience in the world. Moving onwards to part 2, which is what to know when using whisper mode inside a world. These ones are going to be a mix of sort of how to do it right and things that you should not do, so do keep these in mind. The first one is how to sort of engage or turn on that whisper mode. Often I've seen this been done wrong, so please keep these following things in mind. Number one is please don't enter whisper mode in front of anyone's logics, inspectors, gadgets, things that they're editing, gizmos, tools, whatever it is. Don't do that. I've been in a couple of worlds where I've been building something and then suddenly I found myself like a couple of nodes or like half an inspector has been inside someone's whisper sphere. That puts me in a really awkward spot. I'm like, I'm building, like, get out my way, please. If this happens in a world that I'm hosting, I'm going to physically move you out of that way using the inspector. I won't enter the whisper sphere, I'll try not to, but I'm going to move you out of the way so I can get building. It's very annoying when people do that. So keep in mind where you're having that conversation. Usually I would say find a corner of the map, somewhere quiet for a whisper conversation. It's kind of in the name, and then you won't be in anyone's way. Secondarily is how to engage with that. Usually it's polite to ask the user if you're, can I speak to you for a second in whisper mode? And that way they know. I've seen a couple of cases where someone will just come up to me and drop a whisper bubble on me, and that immediately means, oh no. So do keep that in mind. Be like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Hey, would you mind following me over here? Let's have a conversation, stuff like that. let people know that you would like to engage in that, and then make sure it's a mutually agreed upon whisper mode. I've had some cases where I've already been in a conversation with multiple other people, and someone has flown in, dropped a whisper sphere on me, and been like, hello. And I'm like, I'm suddenly stuck in a conversation I don't really want to be in. You've interrupted my flow. So make sure you allow me to opt into that conversation before you engage in it. That's about how to get into one. Once you're in one, keep in mind the following things. It should be temporary. If you're in a whisper sphere for like 4 hours, you should be in a private world. It's more on private worlds later when it comes to whisper spheres, but if you're in a whisper sphere for a long time, you shouldn't be using whisper spheres. It's detrimental to the world, and it's detrimental to your presence in the world. Just go to another private world, or figure out if the conversation can actually just be in normal chat. Whilst you're in a whisper sphere, also make sure that you are aware of what's going on around you. There are going to be people who want to come in. That's natural. They're curious. They want to come into the whisper sphere and speak to you. If they are allowed in, if you're comfortable with them being in, beckon to them. Make sure you clear it with the other people in the whisper sphere. Hey, do you mind if I invite Prime in? And then, wave them in, let them into the conversation. But do keep in mind that temporary thing. I've seen a whisper sphere grow from 2 people to 8 people once, and it's just like, what is going on here? They should clearly be going to a different world, because it just was like it's like a bag of marbles sitting in the corner of the world. It was quite distracting. Also, do keep in mind that where that conversation is herring, again, make sure it's in the nice corner of the world. Those are the considerations I'd like you to keep in mind. And then the final one here, which is the most important one, is to keep in mind that whisper spheres are not 100% secure at all. There are about 17 different ways. I was trying earlier, I found about 6 different ways, and that was just me thinking off the top of my head, ways of breaking a sphere. There are ways to pick up the user's audio source. There are ways to disable their whispers. There are ways to boot the user at different locations. You could just sort of teleport them to a different location. You can also shrink down so you're invisible and fly into there. There are hidden layer systems where you can fly around and look invisible even though you actually still exist in the world. By the way, please don't use those. All sorts of ways to sort of break into that whisper sphere conversation. That is actually sort of partially intended in the way that the whisper mode is designed, in that it's not secure. It's not designed to be secure. That's not to say that we do want people doing that. Repeatedly doing it may constitute harassment. Do check a look at the Neos usage guidelines and submit tickets at moderation.neos.com if you have any questions about that one. But do keep in mind, it's not designed to be secure. It's not like these bugs exist and we haven't patched them. It's not designed to be secure. If you want to have a secure private conversation, drop to a private world. Drop to a private world if you want to have a secure private conversation. That's all there really is to whispers and whisper spheres. I did want to just get this video out primarily for the reason of that non-secure thing. As Neos grows, we're seeing more and more users use this mode, and it is there to be used, but I want to make sure that you're aware, hey, it's not secure, and here are the things to keep in mind when using it. That's all I have for you. I'll see you next time. If you have any questions or comments, do check links in the video description. There's also links to a video on the other social aspects. There's a bunch of social videos in that playlist. And there's also a link to customize your whisper sphere. You can make it look different. So there's a video linked in the video description for that as well. I'll see you next time. Like I said, leave a comment in the comments if you've got any troubles. I'll get back to you next time. Bye-bye.